How did my teacher almost kill me? I've never once vaped or done anything drug-related. I wasn't into that stuff. It was during lunch that I realized I must have been allergic to something I ate. I specifically asked the lunch lady if there were nuts in the spaghetti. She said no. She was very adamant about that. The staff knew about my severe nut allergy. I carried an EpiPen everywhere I went just in case. But something was in the food that was causing my throat to close up and my face to swell. Hives broke out on my arms and I clawed at my throat, trying to breathe. The teacher who was monitoring the cafeteria noticed the trouble I was having and hurried over to me. She took one look at my swollen face and immediately accused me of doing drugs. I've never done any of that, I tried to say, but the words were too thick around my swollen throat. I coughed and tried to speak, but no words would come. Tears of despair filled my eyes as I reached into my backpack for my EpiPen. Allergy, I tried saying. Mrs. Jackson grabbed the case that had my EpiPen in it. She glared at me. Vapes aren't allowed on school property, she declared accusedly. Not vape, I wheezed. EpiPen. She opened the case and stared inside before glancing at me. Self-medication isn't allowed, she sneered. You know this. She shoved the case in her pocket and grabbed my arm, yanking me to my feet. She dragged me down the hall to the administration office where she told me to sit on the bench outside of the principal's office. One other kid was sitting on the bench, hood up and earbuds in, ignoring everyone around him. My legs weren't working correctly, and I dropped heavily onto the seat next to him. Mrs. Jackson knocked on the principal's door and entered the room, closing the door behind her. The secretary frowned at me. You don't look so good, she said. Help, I whispered hoarsely. I rested a hand on my red throat. Allergy. The secretary shook her head. Mrs. Jackson said you were on drugs, she replied. I suggest you wait for the principal to deal with you. She went back to whatever game she was playing on her phone. I took my phone out with shaking fingers and typed out an SOS message to my mom. Help. Allergic reaction. School thinks I'm on drugs. The message said it was delivered, but I didn't get a response right away. Mom was probably busy. My breathing was becoming labored. My nose wasn't working right. Something was wrong with my sinuses. I stood and stepped toward the secretary. Please, I whispered. Call 911. The secretary barely looked at me. Take a seat, she said in a cold voice. I backed away and collapsed on the floor, hitting my head hard on the concrete. The kid on the bench sat up and ripped his earbuds out of his ears. Hey, are you okay? He asked, concerned. I turned my head to face him, tears streaming down my cheeks. Help, I tried one more time. He crawled over to me, eyes scanning my body. He saw my swollen face, swollen throat, hives all over my body. Holy sh! He breathed. You're having an allergic reaction. He leaped to his feet. Where's the nurse? He demanded. Sit down, Elias, the secretary ordered. The kid, Elias, shook his head stubbornly. I said, where is she? He snapped loudly. The secretary stayed silent. Elias made a frustrated noise before dropping down next to me. Do you have an EpiPen? He asked quietly. I barely nodded my head. Where is it? Mrs. Jackson, I whispered. His eyes darkened as he stood and immediately barged into the principal's office without knocking. I heard a lot of yelling before Elias emerged from the office with my EpiPen in his hand. He jammed it into my thigh, and for a few scary seconds, nothing happened. But then my airways cleared and I could suddenly breathe. I gasped for breath, feeling dizzy and nauseous. Elias spun around to glare at the principal and Mrs. Jackson. She was having an allergic reaction, he yelled. The secretary was already dialing 911. I couldn't move off the floor and I found myself drifting in and out of consciousness. At one point, the nurse was there, yelling at everyone. Then my mom showed up and really let the staff members have it. The paramedics showed up next and loaded me into the ambulance. The last thing I saw before they shut the doors was Elias's concerned face watching. The hospital kept me overnight for observation. By the end of the week, Mrs. Jackson was fired. My mom sued the district for putting me through that and almost killing me. We got a nice settlement from that. And Elias? He became my best friend after that.